They came to Capernaum. When he was in the house, he asked them, "What were you arguing on the road?" But they kept quiet because on the way they had argued about who was the greatest. Sitting down, Jesus called the 12 and said, "If anyone wants to be first, he must be the very last and the servant of all." He took a little child and had him stand among them. Taking him in his arms, he said to them, "Whoever welcomes one of these children in my name welcomes me, and whoever welcomes me does not welcome me, but the one who sent me." Amen. See, on the road to Capernaum with 12 disciples, Jesus, when he was walking with disciples, he saw them, these 12 disciples, arguing about something. But you know, when Jesus was traveling, there were so many people following Jesus. So most likely, Jesus was already surrounded by crowds. So he didn't have chance to ask them what they were arguing about. So when Jesus finally got into a house, Jesus asked what they were actually arguing about. And they could not answer because they were arguing with each other about who's going to be the highest. Who's going to be highest when Jesus finally becomes the King of Israel? Because you know, when Jesus becomes the most powerful, the most highest person in the Israel, one of them have to become the right hand, you know, the second most highest person in the Israel. So they were fighting each other that I'm going to be the highest. No, I'm going to be the highest. Look, I deserve to be the right hand of Jesus Christ because I am better than all of you. So they were arguing with each other and they were not proud about it. They knew that Jesus is going to be angry about this argument. So why did they fight each other about who's going to be the highest? Because still, even though Jesus already told them that he's going to be killed by the leaders of the church and sacrifice himself and be risen again after 3 days, even after Peter getting called Satan because Peter didn't want Jesus to sacrifice himself, they still did not understand what it meant. And they were still expecting Jesus to become the King of Israel. That is why they were fighting among each other who's going to be the highest, the right hand of Jesus Christ. So when Jesus asked them, they couldn't answer. You know, when Jesus heard about this argument, how he reacted is quite different than what happened before. Remember when Peter argued with Jesus Christ that he shouldn't kill himself? Jesus called him Satan, right? And remember last week we talked about disciples unable to drive demon out from a boy. And when Jesus heard this, what's happening with disciples, he was frustrated, right? Jesus called his disciples unbelievers, right? So he was actually angry about them. But this time, Jesus is not angry with them. Jesus did not criticize them about their argument. Instead, he sits and he calls his disciples and explains to them the meaning of success with very kindness and gentle explanation, bringing a boy to him. So why did Jesus not get angry with them this time? Because their argument was based on human understanding of success. It is not their fault, but it is the world they're living in that made them to think, to have this definition of the success. That is why they were arguing with each other. In order to become success, the world tells us, in order to become a successful person in life, we have to have more than others. We have to become higher than others and do more than others. That is why disciples, following the standard of worldly success, they were arguing each other who's going to be better than others and higher than others, even among themselves, the disciples. So if Jesus gets angry with them, it is unfair because they were only just doing what the world tells them to do. They're just living up to the standards of the world. And by criticizing them, it won't change anything. So instead, Jesus explained to them the true meaning of success with kind and gentle explanation. Not to criticize them, but to teach them. You see, our world constantly tells us that higher position, greater wealth, prestigious accolades, like do more, achieve more, are the true definition of success. This has not changed since the time of Jesus 2,000 years ago. Jesus already told us the true meaning of success, but we are still not getting it. Every day, even after thousands and thousands of years passed since the rise of human civilization, people struggle to reach higher, have more, and achieve more and do more. And that we think that this is true success in our lives. But we must wonder, does that make us happy? Does that make us content with our lives? Does that make us feel fulfilled in our lives when we reach that success that world tells us? Ironically, our world, which constantly tells us that to be successful we must have more and reach higher place and do more, also shows us that such success will bring side effects that would ultimately make our lives unhappy and make us feel emptiness in our heart. Funny, right? Let me explain. When you pursue worldly success, you will most likely feel emptiness in your heart when you finally reach that success you've been pursuing. Because almost all time, the definition of success comes from social standards and outside sources, which means your parent told you that you're going to be successful when you become something. It is not you who decided to become this to become successful, but it was your parents who told you that you're going to be successful when you become this. For example, when you become a doctor, you'll be successful and you'll be happy and you'll be content. Your parent told so. So you pursue that profession, and when you finally become that doctor, you feel emptiness because you don't feel happy and you don't feel content because it was not you who decided to become a doctor, but it was your parent and your friends, your teacher, and some other person told you to become a doctor. That is why almost all time, when you pursue this worldly success, you feel emptiness in your heart when you finally reach that destination. I have seen so many people with the jobs that we normally call successful jobs, like doctors, like professors and lawyers and CEOs. I've seen so many of these people in the profession quitting their job because they don't feel happy in their lives. And they go pursue jobs that are considered to be, not so successful, like janitors or carpenters, like interior designers and like that, because they don't feel happy. They finally become a professor and they thought they're going to be happy and content with their lives because they're going to be rich. Like professors and doctors, they get really a high amount of payment, right? So they thought they were going to have a happy life and content with their lives, but instead they feel unhappy and emptiness in their heart. I've seen so many people changing their jobs because they don't feel happy anymore. Also, when you pursue this worldly success, have more, do more, achieve more, you will have to enter the never-ending fierce competition, competing with everyone. The moment you enter the first day of your education, you have to compete with everyone. Today it is so easy to find children as young as 4 to 5 years old going to private tutoring center. Can you imagine? 4 years old, 5 years old, going to the private tutoring center from let's say 1 p.m. to 5 to 6 p.m. Children, 4, 5. And the parents are even talking about 3 years old children should go to private tutoring center. Parents are going mad. Why? Because they don't want their children left behind. Because everyone are competing with each other. This kind of lifestyle will make our children to grow up with constant stress and anxiety. Because everywhere they go, they don't see friends, they see competitor. When they go to kindergarten, they meet their friends. They don't find friends there. They find competitors. Because their parents tell them, you have to do better than that girl. You have to do better than that boy. You have to do more. You have to have more. When you look at the children of clothes and the little things they have of our little children, they have very expensive clothes and accessories, even in the kindergarten. Why? It's not because they want. Think about it. Would 4 years and 5 years old know what the expensive clothes and expensive accessories are? They don't know if it is expensive or not. They're only wearing it because their parents want their children to wear it, because they don't want their children to be compared with other children. It is not what they want, it is what their parent wants. Competition, stress, and anxiety. These days, we find illnesses that are directly related to stress, easily found among children. These illnesses shouldn't not be found among our children, which means they're getting stressed to death. That's what's happening in our world. When we are pursuing worldly success, we are pushing our children into the fire, making them compete with each other. Every person they meet, they're only competitors. And even when they reach their goal, finally, they will not feel secured and satisfied, since this standard of success, the worldly standard of success, will always change. Will always tell you to aim higher. So even when you become finally like doctor, your parent told, or your friend or your grandparent told you that you need to become a doctor. When you finally become a doctor, you should be content, right? You should be happy. But even in that goal, you still have to compete, because you have to compete with other doctors. Competition never ends. So they will never feel secured. They will always feel anxiety and stressed. They will always aim for higher, not because they want, but because the world tells them to. And even worse, this is even worse, to pursue worldly success, many times we need to make compromises to our ethics and moralities. and sometimes even break the law. Why? Because you have to have more and do more, achieve more, reach higher positions. Sometimes the rules, morals, and ethics and laws will hold us back. And we have no choice but to break it. You may be familiar with the phrase, it's not personal, it's just a business. You've heard this phrase, right? It's not personal, it's a business. It is a phrase often used when a person or a corporate violates others and cause harm for their own benefits. So have a more benefit, sometimes the corporate or person CEO or person who is doing business, they will cause harm to others. But they're only doing it to have more profits. So they're saying, you know what? I'm sorry that I killed your father, but it was not personal, but we were only doing business. To have more profit, I had to push your father to death. It's not personal. You see, to be successful, people are making compromises or downright breaking the ethics and morals and laws. Every day we hear news about people stealing from others in order to be successful. Those frauds. We hear about this news, those frauds, stealing from others, living a good life. Why? Because they think it doesn't matter that I stole things from them or stole money or properties from them. As long as I'm successful, it's fine. Because right now, they have more than them. And also, we hear so many people cheating each other. Why? Because all they care about is to become successful, to have more, to do more, to put themselves into a higher position. That is how severe the side effect of worldly success is. It's happening right now. Worldly success that we pursue may bring us external satisfaction because you have more, right? It could make you proud initially, but eventually you'll feel inner emptiness and anxieties and stress in your life until you reach your own death. That is the worldly success that we are pursuing. That is the worldly success that 12 disciples were trying to pursue. But we need to ask ourselves, is it worth it? Is it worth to push ourselves and our children into this never-ending fierce competition, broken relationship, personal isolation, and even moral compromises that would ultimately worn out our soul? Is it worth it in order to become successful? Not just success, worldly success. Is it worth it? Jesus said, "What good is it for a man to gain the whole world, yet forfeit his soul?" So what good is having more and having everything when your soul is dead? Is it worth it? Today, disciples are about to cause harm with each other's relationship because they're fighting each other. If somebody becomes the highest among themselves, they will feel envy, right? Envy is very dangerous. Remember Cain and Abel? First murder in human history happened because of this envy. This happened because Cain wanted to have more. Did you know that Cain already had more than Abel because he's the firstborn? Firstborn has more right than secondborn. He already has much more than Abel, and he wanted to have more. Respect from God, respect from his parents. He wanted to have more. And that caused envy in his heart, and that caused murder, the first murder of human history. And 12 disciples is trying to start that fight within themselves. You know how dangerous that is? So Jesus, in order to stop what they're doing, teaches them the true definition of success in our lives. We need to remember this, true success. Jesus tells them, if anyone wants to be first, he must be the very last and the servant of all. That is success. Do you want to be successful in your life? Be the very last and servant of all the people. And he brings a boy in front of them saying, whoever welcomes one of these children in my name welcomes me, and whoever welcomes me does not welcome me, but the one who sent me, which means God. So Jesus is practically saying, if you respect one of these children, you are showing your respect to God. You know what Jesus is doing? Jesus is completely reversing the concept of success of the world. Completely reversing it. Making us to realize, break this definition of the worldly success. Jesus is defining the success as a very opposite to what the world defines. It may not seem logical, but when you look at it, it is more true than any other definition that we find in the world. Think about it. To be the first of all men, you need to have a respect from the people, right? People must respect you. That makes you the first, the highest person of all, right? If people do not respect you, you're not truly the first. So in order to be the first, you need to have a respect from the people. And also, you need to inspire people and be the example of the people. And people learn from you. If people do not learn from you, then you are not truly the first. So how do you make people respect you? By serving others. When you have wealth and authority and power, people may seem like they have respect in you, but they don't truly respect you. They only follow your orders and listen to you because you have more and because you have more power. They're not doing this out of your respect and love, but by envy, greed, and necessity. So truly, to have more, to do more, to be higher than others, do not make you the highest, but actually the lowest. Because people will always try to get things from you. People will always try to use you. People will always backtalk you. People will always backstab you. When you have more than others, when you are position yourself more higher than others, and try to do more than others, competing others, you will never truly be the highest or the first. So logically, in order to have a respect, in order to be the example, you need to put yourself to the lowest. Humble yourself and serve others. So truly, to be first, one must be the very last. How do you do it? By serving others. People, respect someone who love others and give kindness to others, and people who humble themselves, right? People who serve others. My name is Choi, right? And my family name is Che. And you've heard about this family of Che who have a higher respect and high praise because they share their position to lowly class people whenever they have famine or national crisis, they would open their rice reserve and give to all the people. And people respected him despite being the loyal people. People, all of them respected him because he shared his love and served others. Truly, truly respected. And when you look at all the leaders of our world, our nation or other nation, like kings and leaders of all people, when you hear about this king or leaders being respected by people, each and every one of these leaders, they served the people who follow them. You see, people respect others or respect someone who are humble and who love and give kindness and serve others. So Jesus is not making up some unknown or invented wisdom. Jesus is actually just simply pointing out the truth. He's just pointing out the truth. It's been always like that. People always respect someone who give kindness and serve others. We just forgotten about this. Jesus brought a little boy, right? Little boy in front of disciples and told them to accept him is like accepting him, which means you should respect these little children. You should, because when you respect these children, you are also showing respect to God. Which means people did not respect children. According to the social rank of that time, I think it's still the same. But anyway, during that time of Jesus, a child is not even in the rank. They're just outside of the ranking, social ranking. They were not even included. They did not even count children and women when they were counting people. They only counted men. Children and women were not even counted. So they are not even included in the social rank. But Jesus is telling the 12 disciples, you should respect these children. You must. When these disciples were fighting over their future social rank, Jesus dissolved this fight by telling them that the social ranking itself is meaningless. Jesus is actually telling them ranking, grades does not matter. It has no meaning. World makes us to think that the social ranks and grades determines our happiness in life. Thus, people struggle to put themselves in higher ranks and obtain higher grades. That is why our parents are pushing our children to private tutoring schools, institutes. Why? Because they want their children to get higher grades, do better in the tests. But does higher grade make them happy? We know it doesn't. We already know. There was this movie called Higher Grade Does Not Determine Our Happiness. In 1989, there was this movie called Higher Grades Does Not Determine Our Happiness. It was a famous movie. I watched it. And this movie shook the society of our nation because parents at that time realized that they're pushing their children into, fire. They realized that having a higher grade does not make their children happy. So our society kind of changed, trying to make our children happy by not putting our children into this fierce competition. But we turned ourselves 180 degrees and we are doing it again. Parents at my age are pushing our children into this fierce competition, thinking that higher grades will secure our children's happiness. But we know it doesn't. If that was true, Jesus would not have been born from the smallest town, smallest family of Israel. If it was true, God would not send Jesus, make him born in the small barn of Bethlehem. When Jesus was born, no one came except 6 people. Normally when a baby was born in a family, whole family comes and congratulate the born of the baby, right? Even my twins had more than 6 people coming to their anniversary party and congratulating my baby's birthday. But Jesus only had 6 people, maybe less. We're trying to guess the number, but it can't be more than 6 people. Anyway, Jesus was born at the highest rank, as the lowest rank at the lowest class among the people of Israel. And he was a carpenter until he became 30 years old. Carpenter is not a respected job. So God is telling us to have a higher rank, to have a higher grade, will not make you happy. If that was true, Jesus would not call disciples among fishers and tax collectors. You don't get respect out of becoming some rich, some powerful, some authoritative figure. We need to realize this. The worldly definition of success is already proven to be wrong, even before Jesus telling the disciples. We already knew about this. We've already known about this truth. So why continue to live by its definition? Why push ourselves and our children into the fire when we know it is not going to give them true happiness and content in their lives? We need to stop this. It's getting worse. Today I watched the news from YouTube that we know that parents of 3 to 4 or 5 years children sending their children to a private tutoring institute, right? But among these private tutoring institutes, there are famous ones, the famous tutoring institutes known to make their children have higher grades. And they have entering exam, like a college. If you want to go to this tutoring institute, private tutoring institute, you have to have an entering exam. And if you fail, you don't get to apply in that private tutoring institute. They have entering exam. And parents, they want their children to enter this private institute. They're getting tutors, teaching them to pass the entering exam of the private tutoring institute. Can you imagine that? Getting tutors to enter the tutoring institute. And our parents are doing this. It's a growing trend. Why? Because we are following this twisted definition of worldly success. Our nation has grown rich in short amount of time. 40 years. We have become from the lowest nation to the highest nation among the world. But our nation has become the lowest happiness and content in lives among OECD nations. We're the lowest. Our children do not feel happiness. Our children do not feel content in their lives. They're giving up. They're just giving up because they don't feel happiness. Because they don't feel happiness, they quit their jobs. Did you know there is this growing trend among 20s and mid-20s quitting their job without any plan? Because they don't feel happiness in their lives. They don't want to work anymore because going to work do not give anything to them. So they just quit and do nothing. Our children, they don't feel content in their lives, so they quit doing anything. They revolt against their parents because they listen to their parents for the whole of their lives, and finally when they achieve what their parents wanted and they realize they don't feel content in their lives, so they revolt against their parents. Violent crime against their parents happens because they do not feel content in their lives listening to their parents. This concept, this definition of worldly success is destroying our lives. We need to come to our senses. Come to our senses. And finally, listen to our Lord Jesus Christ. We need to change the definition of successful life. We should have done this decades and decades ago. This is ever more important since our society is more moving toward the era of artificial intelligence and robots. When the artificial intelligence and robots become crucial part of our lives, we will no longer be able to compete with this machine. We cannot compete. They will always be better. When that happens, we will finally feel emptiness in our lives because our whole lives of competition becomes meaningless. Our children is going to have that kind of life. If we push our children to compete with each other, trying to have more and do more, they will have to compete with AIs and robots. Can they win? Never. Because they will always be better than them. So, if we fail to change this definition of success in our lives, we are going to push our children into oblivion. We are going to ruin our children's lives. We have to change. It's not too late. We can do it because Jesus already told us the answer. As Christians, as the light and salt of this world, we can change this world. Like our ancestors of faith did before. It happened before, and we can do it again. We can save our children. We can save our future generation. So we can teach them, like Jesus teaching the 12 disciples, we can teach them the true success of life, as Jesus has shown, lies in living a life focusing with the relationship with God, loving others, and serving others with humility. That is the true success of a life. Jesus said, "But seek first His kingdom and His righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well." When you focus on the relationship with God, you will realize the purpose of your life and goal of your life. Why? Because it is God who made you to come into this world. Who could know you better than yourself? God. God can exactly tell you why you exist in this world because He made you. God can tell you the purpose of not only your purpose of this world, but can also lead you to the true goal of your life. Why? Because God made you. God knows the single hair on your head. He counts everything He knows you better than yourself. So why focus yourself fighting each other? But when you can have more, learn more about yourself and become happy and content with your life when you have a healthy relationship with God. And you will experience the true love when you have a healthy relationship with God. And in this relationship, you can finally learn the true love from God, and you will learn how to truly love others. And through Jesus Christ, you learn what it is to serve others and how much you can have, gain, and learn from serving others. And finally, you'll know what the true happiness is, and you will finally feel content in your life. No high rank or no high grade can grant such happiness and content. And as you learn to love and serve others with humility through the relationship of God and Jesus Christ and Holy Spirit, you'll understand the humbleness. You'll find inner peace, and you'll find the forever content in your life, not just by following the worldly standard of success, but true standard of success in your life. So this is the true life of success. Life filled with happiness and content through serving others with love and kindness. That is made possible through growing relationship with God, which will bring us so much blessings and so many gifts and wonders in your life. That is success in your life. And imagine how our world would be changed when our children live by this standard. Truly, it would be heaven on this world. Not competing each other, instead loving each other, serving each other, learn from each and every one of us, not hating others, but like others, not hostile to each other, but be kind to each other. And they will be finally free from this fear competition, because they don't have to compete each other. And you know what? When that happens, they can better themselves more, because their goal is not to compete, but to become better, to be the example for others. That is more effective. And when you do that, ironically, you have more. You become more wealthy, because you gain respect from others. By serving others, you have more people following you. So in the end, you end up with more wealth and more people and more authority and more higher position. That is how you become successful in your life. So let us start the journey together. Let us share it. Let us live it. Let us teach our children the true definition of success, so they can live a life of happiness and content, leading others into this happy life, leading others to this life of content. In the name of Jesus Christ. So let us pray.